Welcome back to Shooting It Straight. We're talking about defensive ammo and how to choose it. Now, whenever the topic of handgun ammunition comes up, it's usually going to be a discussion between target ammo, also called practice ammo, or self-defense ammo, sometimes called personal protection ammo. Target or practice ammo usually uses a fully jacketed bullet, which basically is just a lead bullet that has a very thin jacket. That's usually a layer of copper, brass, or maybe a bimetal material with no hollow point, no cavity on it. It's just round, which is, it's perfect for target practice, punching holes in paper and cardboard silhouettes and things of that nature. And it's also good for some hunting applications as well that require very deep penetration. Now, this ammo may come in a round nose. You may hear it referred to as round nose or ball ammo, ball style, or it could come in a flat nose, like this 40 caliber right here, target ammo. It's FMJ, full metal jacket, just like this, except it's a flat nose. Alright. Now, these target ammunition is not recommended for personal defense use. It can be used if you've got nothing else, but there are a lot better options out there. But it's generally not recommended for personal defense use, since it carries, serious over-penetration concerns, because it is not designed to expand. These bullets are not designed to expand, and they usually don't. On occasion they might, though, on some things, some targets. Alright. Now, in this video, though, we're going to focus primarily on self-defense ammunition. Now, this is normally the same jacketed bullet, but with a hollow point or cavity. Okay, for hydraulic purposes. Alright, the cavity is designed to use hydraulics in order to expand the bullet upon entering a medium, such as ballistic gel or a animal or human body, and giving the bullet a mushroom effect. It opens it up. The liquid works hydraulically to open the bullet and expand it into mushroom. Now, this is important, and it serves two purposes. Frontal expansion of the bullet equates to more tissue destruction, which leads to heavier bleeding, and it slows the bullet's velocity enough to prevent overpenetration in most cases. Now, overpenetration can endanger bystanders, so that's why cops use hollow points. The majority of the bullet's energy, when it expands, the bullet is slowed down, and so the majority of the energy is contained within the intended target, and the energy is not wasted. Your choice of defensive ammo is crucial, because your life or that of a loved one might just depend on that very decision one day. Now, naturally, you want the best defensive load available, but with literally dozens of premium self-defense loads on the market today, how do you determine which one of them are best for you? And I can assure you that they are not all the same. There are some great ones, and there are some pathetic ones. So, caveat emptor. Alright, let's go through the process of our criteria. okay, in your selection of self-defense ammo. Now first, let me caution you, never make this decision based simply on whatever is popular. Too many people do that. Popularity doesn't mean diddly squat. Simply because a particular pistol, or a certain cartridge, or a certain shooting technique is popular, that doesn't always mean that it's effective. It doesn't always mean it's superior, and it doesn't always mean that it's good or wise. Don't let the popularity polls factor into this important decision. You need to research, do your research, and conduct experiments. You have to actually go out and shoot some of this stuff. So now that you've made the first wise choice in this decision-making process by throwing popularity out of the equation altogether, it's time to decide what type of performance you're looking for in your premium self-defense cartridge. Now, of course, we all want it to have the ability to quickly incapacitate an attacker. That's what we're looking for, right? But there are specific behaviors that the bullet must be able to perform in order to effectively accomplish that task. You need to know what those behaviors are before you can begin your search. Now, for that information, I turn to the FBI studies and testings. And judging by the comments that I always read in some of the videos about defensive ammo and the testing of it and all that stuff, I'm betting that not many people are aware of what I'm about to put out in this video. Alright, get ready for a lesson. In the late 1980s, the FBI created and established the now world-famous Ballistics testing laboratory, with certain protocols meant to roughly predict the performances of various self-defense handgun cartridges. Now, they were in search of a more effective caliber than their current 9mm. The testing protocol involves firing 5 bullets, 5 shots, each of all common calibers and all common bullet weights and designs from handguns, and firing those shots into a 6 by 6 by 18 inch long solidified block of 10% porcine gelatin from a distance of 10 feet. Now, porcine means pig, so it's pig products. It's not a synthetic gelatin, it's a natural based gelatin. Each of those 5 shots from the first batch must penetrate a single barrier that is placed in front of the 6 by 6 face of that gel block, right? Now, one barrier is a section of auto windshield. Alright, they put one shot through that windshield, and it's only a few inches away from the block, and then the bullet goes through the windshield into the block, right? Okay, well, the windshield barrier is removed, and then in its place is put a section of sheetrock or drywall for the second shot. It penetrates that barrier, goes into the gel. Same block. They remove that barrier and replace it with a section of plywood. Shoot the third, remove the plywood, put in a section of heavy sheet metal to simulate a car door. That's shot, and remove it. And finally, the heavy clothing barrier is used. Now, by the way, the FBI never used 4 layers of denim like you always see on a lot of YouTube videos. The FBI never used four layers of denim. That's an old IWBA protocol. The IWBA is not here anymore. It is defunct. It went out of business decades ago. The FBI uses instead a piece of cotton t-shirt, some other kind of cotton material. That's what they use. Now, there's much more to this testing protocol, but you get the general idea. The FBI takes 5 rounds from the same box. Let's say golden sabers. And all weights of this golden saber, whatever caliber it may be, they'll put 5 of those bullets through those succession of barriers and into that gel block until all 5 shots have been shot into that gel block. 1 bullet through each barrier. They then record the depth of penetration made in that gel block by each bullet and average it up and give the cartridge an overall penetration average and a numerical score, or what they call a value. Now once the 5 golden saber bullets are pulled from the gel block, the expansion of each bullet is also recorded and averaged, and each bullet is weighed, and those bullets receive numerical values for each category. So they get numerical values or points for penetration, weight retention, and expansion. That's what they get, all right? The FBI set a 12-inch minimum, 12-inch bare minimum acceptable level of penetration into the gel block after going through the barriers, and set 18 inches as the maximum penetration that they wanted to get from those bullets. They didn't want it to exceed that for fear that it may over-penetrate. Now the 12-inch minimum penetration depth was set because the Wound Ballistics seminar had established that for rapid incapacitation to occur, the bullet must damage a large blood-bearing organ located near the center chest of a person. The 12-inch minimum standard required to penetrate far enough to strike a vital organ does not mean that the bullet enters from the front to the back of the attacker. All right, it's not measured from the sternum to the spine. That's not how they met. When they're talking 12 inches, they don't mean 12 inches that way, front to back. It means that a shot made to the side of a person, or a lateral shot, or a shot at any other angle, any and all angles, must penetrate at least 12 inches regardless of where the person is shot if a vital organ is to be hit by the bullet. Now that concern came directly from the FBI Miami shootout in 1986. When one of the 2 suspects took a shot in his upper arm, and it passed through his arm, then entered into the side of his torso, but failed to reach any vital organs. That same suspect still continued to assault or shoot agents, and 2 of those agents were killed and 5 were seriously injured in that single gunfight. Now here's what's important. And yet everybody wants to ignore this part. I'm beginning to wonder if anybody even knows it. In these gel barrier tests, the FBI places a 70% value on bullet penetration ability. 70%. 70% value on bullet penetration. The expansion ability of the bullet comprises only 20% of the points of the entire score. And the final 10% is given on bullet retention, bullet weight retention. Now, why is weight retention important? Well, because it can be a factor in penetration. Generally, heavier bullets penetrate more. Generally. Should a bullet break up or shed its jacket or something like that, it could limit penetration. Now, I am forever hearing people praise their whatever defensive load they choose, and there's usually about 2 of them. I'm forever hearing how they praise their load because of how much it expands. They go on and on about that awesome expansion. Oh my God, the big expansion. But I never hear them mention anything about its penetration ability. You know, the thing that the FBI says is the most important function of a bullet, penetration. They never discuss that, though. Now, this obsession with bullet expansion and complete disregard for penetration usually comes from a lack of education and people who just follow the crowd. You know, they're the follow the crowd type of people. Expanding bullets, or hollow points, are optimal for self-defense against human attackers, since over-penetration concerns are minimized if the bullet does indeed expand as it's designed to do. If the bullet is contained within the attacker, then the bullet has expended all of its energy without wasting any, which again is optimal. Not to mention the fact that the expanded frontal area of the bullet, and I spoke of this earlier, also creates a larger wound channel, which will increase rapid blood loss, which leads to quicker incapacitation. Now, expansion is great, but the bigger it expands, the less it will penetrate, because the larger frontal area of the bullet will have to overcome more resistance. It's a trade-off. I have researched two of the most popular huge expansion carry loads. And yeah, they seriously expand pretty consistently. But their penetration is usually dismal, barely making the FBI's bare minimum penetration requirement in most cases. Not all the time, but in the majority of cases. Now, I'm not saying that those two most popular defensive loads are bad, and I think you know which ones I'm talking about. I'm only saying that there are better choices available according to all of the published tests that I have reviewed over many years. And keep in mind, you should never place bullet expansion as a top priority, since it's been firmly established for many years now that hollow point bullets expand in the human body only 60 to 70% of the time. And there's various reasons for that. If the hollow point cavity becomes deformed after hitting bone or some kind of barricade, it will not expand. If the cavity becomes plugged up with clothing, glass, or other material, it will not expand. And if the bullet fails to meet the expansion threshold, it will not expand. Now that's because hollow point bullets are velocity based. They must be traveling at a certain velocity in order for the natural hydraulics from the body or medium to force the bullet to mushroom, to open and mushroom. Again, that's straight from the FBI studies. According to FBI tests and studies, mostly from the FBI's Wound Ballistics seminar, penetration is the first most important function of a bullet, with expansion coming in at a distant second. Remember, 70% value given to penetration is a lot more than 20% value given to expansion. Think about that. Now personally, I prefer plus P rated ammo, which is usually about 10% more powerful than the standard loading. And I use Hornady Custom 230 grain 45 auto plus P. That's my carry load in 45. Because I want to make sure that the bullet reaches its expansion threshold. Now, because the 40 Smith & Wesson doesn't come in plus P loads, I'm going to try to use Underwood ammo because of its unofficial plus P pressures. I don't have any yet, so right now I'm carrying it with Remington 165 grain Golden Saber bonded. And with the whenever I carry 357 SIG, I carry the Remington 125 grain Golden Saber bonded. I like bonded bullets. Alright. This is what I carry, and because the 357 SIG doesn't need any higher pressure. It doesn't need any more power. But you know, if you're going to use plus P, most newer modern guns can handle the plus P pressure, but be smart and check with your gun manufacturer first. Just clear it with them. Sometimes you can see it on the literature you get with your gun. It'll tell you whether or not you can use it. If not, give them a call. Alright? So with all that information, I think a logical criteria for a carry load would have to be based upon penetration ability first. Alright? Expansion potential second, which a normal expansion is around 1.5 times its original diameter. Weight retention third. No core and jacket separation. That's why I get bonded. I don't want that separation to occur. Now I believe these to be reasonable criteria. Now you can adjust some of the particular details as I have done. For example, I won't consider any round that fails to consistently deliver a minimum average of 15 inches, not 12, 15 inches of penetration. And I'm not very concerned about over penetration. I like a fair amount of expansion, but it's not a priority, just as long as it expands some. And I prefer bonded bullets to prevent the core jacket separation. It doesn't matter if it's a mechanical bond, such as this Hornady Custom here. Sometimes it has a mechanical bond in there where it's pinched. It pinches the jacket to the lead core. Or whether or not it's a chemical bond, a molecular bonding process, as long as it's bonded. And personally, I also factor in muzzle energy. Look, 500 foot-pounds of energy striking a target can sometimes help contribute to incapacitation or otherwise halting an attack. There are federal prison inmate interviews that verify that. Now, you can obtain some rough data on these criteria performances on some YouTube channels. You can also see the results of an exhaustive study from Lucky Gunner Labs as a resource too. Now, however, beware, many tests are conducted using clear type gel blocks. These blocks will give different results than the FBI gel blocks. Generally, the clear blocks are not quite as dense. They're not quite as dense as the FBI blocks. Now that's because the clear blocks are 100% synthetic, whereas the FBI blocks are a 10% porcine mixture organic block. Bullets will generally penetrate the synthetic block about 2 to 3 inches more than the organic FBI blocks. Now when selecting a defense carry load, try to match it with your usual practice rounds as closely as possible. Now what I mean by that is try to use the same bullet weight with the same or very similar velocities if possible, because velocity can change the point of impact. Now, this also helps the recoil impulse to remain similar too, which can help in follow-up or subsequent shots staying on target, and will normally keep the same point of impact as your practice loads. The primary goal here is to ensure that the point of impact is where you are aiming. You must be certain that your defense load impacts the target at your point of aim. Now, I know this ammunition is expensive, but before you load up and carry your selected defense ammo, whatever kind it may be, you must first run at least a few magazines of it through your pistol. You must ensure that your pistol will function 100% reliably with that ammo before you carry it, and that its point of impact is where it should be. So, make an informed decision about your defensive ammo. Make sure it meets your criteria Then make sure it functions reliably in your pistol and hits point of aim. So, fellas, I hope you found this video helpful. Keep watching for more videos from Shooting It Straight. Ciao.